What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to Brothers of Merit Season 2 Fireside Study Series. So this is going to be intentionality. It's our topic number 1. And we want to talk to you guys about this because it's an extremely strong topic within Brothers of Merit, and Taylor will allude to that in a second. But the reason I like intentionality so much is because of the amount of work that it takes. It's not something that you can sit back on your couch and expect to be done for you. It's something you really got to dig in and actually make it an intentional output of work and effort to get to.
It's the opposite of passivity, and passivity is easy.
It is,
right? Like
it's the easiest thing
passivity takes no effort. Literally takes no effort. So the exact opposite of that is intentionality and getting after it. And I love it. Like Brandon said, I say all the time about Brandon, about Brothers of Merit, that Brandon is one of the most intentional people that I've ever met in my entire life, because when he decided to start this thing, he realized you can have brotherhood like he's had in the past in worldly different situations just for your Christian walking to get better. Oh, like that's something that I can do, then I need to do that. I need to be intentional to get after it, and I need to go do that, right? And so once Brandon learned that he needed to go do that, he went and did it. Like he was intentional to not just be passive and think, oh, I'll get to that. No, he went and he found a group of guys, and then he was like, I think that this is something that other people need to hear about. So we started Brothers of Merit, and that's why we're here today. And I love it. And then I think it's cool too, because then we ended season 2, the very last episode of season 2. Brandon asked me, what was something that you learned this season that you want to take with you into the year 2020? Because we ended right at the end of the year. And I talk about it in season 3. We already recorded it, time travel. When he asked me that question, I didn't even know what the answer was. And then I was like, I think the answer is, and as soon as I said that, God hit me over the head, was like, to be intentional. Because like I need more of what Brandon has in my life. I need to be intentional, which is why I think it's awesome that we chose this as one of our topics, because it's literally like 12 episodes long. Every single episode was, hey, you need to be intentional. You can't just be passive. You need to be intentional. Right. So I love it. I mean, for me personally, it's something I needed to work on in my life, and so that's why like getting through season 2 has made me better.
Right. And the cool thing about intentionality is, and where I am in my intentionality walk, as you will, is because I've put myself in uncomfortable positions. So it didn't just happen overnight. Between the fire department, between the military, there were times that things didn't go my way. There was times that things needed to be done I did not want to do. And there was things that I wanted to happen, but it was going to take a lot of work. Promoting, getting awards that I didn't necessarily try for, but they came because I put in the effort, because I had a goal in mind. And that drives back to our faith, to our walk with Christ. I mean, if you want to better yourself as a Christian man, and that alludes to being a father, being a husband, being a friend, being a cousin, a mentor, whatever, you have to put in the work. You can't just take a step back, not read your Bible, and expect, Christ to give everything to you. You have to reach out, find the things that are hard to grab, and then try harder to get to them. Yeah,
you have to be intentional to go after that. You have to be disciplined, and you have to be intentional.
Right.
And as soon as you started talking about that, I thought through in Hebrews 12:11, it says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. So when you're intentional, when you wake up and you're not just passive, when you are disciplined to be intentional about the things in your life that you know you need to be intentional about, i.e. finding brotherhood, i.e. getting in the Word and spending time with Jesus, those don't necessarily seem pleasant at the time. Sometimes there's conversations we talked about in season 1 where you have to be vulnerable, and that's not fun. That doesn't sound like something I want to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to open myself up to that wound. That doesn't seem pleasant at the time, but there's a huge but in here. It produces a harvest of righteousness, a harvest of righteousness. It's not just like, I'll do a little bit of hard, and then it's gonna be a little bit easy. Like if you go through something that doesn't seem pleasant at the time, if you're intentional to do something that doesn't seem pleasant, there's a harvest of righteousness that's waiting when you're disciplined and you're intentional about doing that.
Right. So for example, MJ Salvatore, he's in episode 4 of season 2. Speaking of just the intentionality and discipline, shout out to you, MJ, because not just to mention where you've come within your faith, but if you guys take a step back, follow him on Instagram, seek out that episode and see his social media. But if you could see his transformation in his physical well-being and his fitness level, he has come from 300 plus pounds to where he is now, where he's a lean, mean, fitness machine, as I always call it. He's going to open his own business, his own gym, and it's because he was intentional and disciplined. Like, he knew he had a goal in mind, and he knew what he wanted to achieve, and he did it. And if you listen to the episode, he tells you how he did it, all with a Christ-centered focus. And as we say all the time, we want to look like Jesus every day, and we strive to do that. So another episode that comes to mind is season 2, episode 2 with Grant Lockhart, one of Taylor's best friends growing up, his college roommate, and he talked about mentoring and mentorship and how critical and crucial that is to your Christian walk. And that was my favorite episode. Taylor, at the end of season 2, we talked about that, but that was my favorite. And the reason being is because intentionality goes hand in hand with finding and being a mentor.
No, absolutely. And I love that. I think in one of the things that Grant said in his episode was, it's a quote that he said that still sticks with me. He said, one of these days is none of these days. Right? Like, one of these days is none of these days. Meaning, you wait for one of these days, like, this Brotherhood thing's cool. I've been listening for a couple of episodes now, and I understand what they're saying. Like, I'm really inspired by that. I want to be intentional, but I'll get to that one of these days. One of these days is none of these days. Like, you need to be intentional and not just passive. Don't just let the calendar flip by. You have to be intentional to get after it. And again, not just be passive, but dive into it. Embrace what that means for your life, for that brotherhood. Going back to MJ in episode 4, yeah, he turned into a lean, mean, fit and forged fighting machine. But he also, when he was in his early 20s, he looked at his life and he was like, I don't necessarily like where I am. And if I want to be where I want to be when I'm late in my 20s, the way that I'm going to do that is by surrounding myself with a tribe, but with a brotherhood that is going to get me there. So he was very intentional to surround himself with the people in his life and cut the people in his life that he needed to. Instead of just being passive and let friendships happen that shouldn't be happening or not be cultivated, he was very intentional to pour into who he needed to pour into. And that's literally like the crux of the matter. That's what it takes to have brotherhood be something that transforms your life.
Absolutely. And we were talking about Grant, and so in Colossians 4:5 it says, be wise in the way you act towards outsiders, make the most of every opportunity. And I think that's a paramount piece of scripture, because when we talk about that mentorship, it's not going to be easy. We all know that awkward feeling where you see somebody in church on a Sunday morning, or you see him a few times and something is like making you called and feel like I should go talk to him, but you're like, nah, I think I
He's gonna think I'm weird.
He's gonna think I'm weird. Yeah. I've only seen him 3 times and I want to go grab a cup of coffee with him in the morning. So I like that, because you have to make the most of every opportunity that you have to create that mentorship or to be mentored. If you see a senior, and I say senior, not in age, but just a senior person in your church that you see and you look up to, and they're a great Christian man, and you say, I would love to have what he has. I can't wait to be married for 42 years with 5 children and to look like him and to walk like him and imagine what he's been through. Well, I'm going to reach out and say, hey, can you mentor me? Can you give me some pointers in what you went through and how you've done that all while trying to look like Jesus every single day and in your walk? So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, like, for that situation specifically, if he's somebody who really is walking like Jesus that you want to look like, if you say that to him, he is gonna, like, there's literally no doubt that if he is someone that you want to mentor you, then he's someone who's gonna be like, yep, absolutely.
Let's get coffee right now.
If you have time for that and you're gonna give me time, like, yeah, they may be busy, yeah, they may be whatever, but like Grant talks about very specific, very practical ways to attack mentorship. Yep. I can't recommend episode 2 enough. Yeah. Obviously Brandon Cannett's his favorite, but go back and listen to that and think about how you can practically apply those steps to your life. And I'm telling you, it's going to change the way that you look at life, and it's going to make you look more like Jesus if you put those things in place.
Yep. I mean, he talks about being mentored and then also mentoring somebody. And then he even says, to the extent of, take a notebook with you. Yeah. And take notes, like legitimately take handwritten notes and then take them home and study them and utilize them to better your walk, so that the person who is mentoring you knows you truly care. Right. So it was just great.
Because you need to be intentional to find that mentor or someone that you want to mentor, but then you need to be intentional inside of it. You can then turn into complacency and passive about the fact that, like, I've been getting coffee with this guy for a little bit. Like, no, Grant's like, you have to be intentional with every meeting. Come prepared with things you want to talk about. Yep. Prove that you're listening to things that he's saying. Like, be intentional to continue to dig into that.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's literally like the whole theme of this whole situation is you can't just let life wash you by. You have to be intentional. And the way that you do that is intentionally find people that are going to walk beside you and help you, hold you accountable to that.
Yep. So I know we've thrown a lot at you guys about intentionality, but we can't recommend enough. Go back and listen to episodes 2 and 4 and all of them.
Yep.
We just pointed out the 2 that really stuck out to us about intentionality. So we hope you guys enjoyed it. Go back, find them on social media, follow them. They're really tagged into a lot of things within their walk and what they're doing in their lives, and I'm incredibly happy for them and can't wait to see where they go.
Absolutely. So as always, we're going to end with our ethos. Be vulnerable, be dedicated, be strong.